Welcome to HSG. Today we're going to talk about the battlefield in World War One. World War One differs significantly from previous wars, with a substantial increase in the efficiency of killing. Machine guns, artillery, barbed wire, and trenches form the iconic images of World War One, turning the battlefield into a gruesome slaughterhouse. On the West Front during World War One, Germany and the Allies, particularly England and France, engaged in a grueling war of attrition. Traditionally, wars have always been wars of attrition, a test of national strength. However, the major problem with the attrition warfare on the Western Front during World War One was that the tremendous human cost yielded no tangible results. Faced with the formidable defense composed of trenches, machine guns, and barbed wire, any flesh and blood assault was futile and suicidal. For instance, in the Battle of Verdun, the Germans suffered 430,000 casualties, pushed forward only 10 kilometers at the most, and failed to breach the French defenses. The deadlock in trench warfare became evident, and both sides engaged in a repetitive cycle of attacks and counterattacks, resulting in numerous casualties. The generals were not pleased, and the soldiers' morale suffered. Sacrificing so many lives for a piece of land that remained unchanged was unacceptable. The generals could not approve of it. The soldiers were demoralized because even if sacrificing oneself for the country was deemed worthwhile, advancing 1,000 miles only to return to the starting point the next day was disheartening. Therefore, military strategists during World War One dedicated themselves in figuring out how to break through the enemy's defenses and make the army mobile again for maneuverable warfare. Both sides worked tirelessly to put their ideas into practice. Since most of the Western Front offensives during World War One were initiated by the Germans, while the English and French focused on defense, the Germans had more opportunity to experiment with various ideas. Initially, the conventional approach was to bombard the artillery and send infantry in afterwards. However, this method proved ineffective as the British and French developed countermeasures to withstand artillery barrages. Trench construction was also a sophisticated art. Trenches could not be straight lines, they needed to be meandering. Why? If the trenches were straight, a bomb falling into the trench would cause shock waves and sharpnose to sweep across. Additionally, the trenches couldn't be simple ditches. Apart from various reinforced drainage structures, there had to be shelters to protect against shell fragments, significantly reducing the lethality of artillery bombardments. After each artillery barrage, the ground became pockmarked, like the surface of the moon, turning into a muddy mess when it rained. Consequently, this hindered the speed of advancing troops. As physical methods were proving ineffective, the Germans resorted to chemical warfare, the earliest use of gas in warfare. Initially, British and French soldiers did not even have proper gas masks, and it was not until later that they began producing rubber gas masks based on captured German designs. The common gas used in World War One were chlorine, phosgene, and mustard gas. Chlorine gas is yellow-green, while phosgene is colorless and odorless but has a characteristic smell resembling rotten straw with toxicity 10 times greater than chlorine. If exposed to these two gases, you had to quickly find something wet to cover your nose and mouth. If exposed to mustard gas, you were in trouble. There is still no specific antidote even now. Full body protection is required. Getting it on any part of your body is fatal. However, using gas has several issues. First, it was highly influenced by wind direction and environmental conditions. Secondly, it became less effective when the enemy enhanced their protection. Moreover, there was a risk of unintended casualties. As a result, the Germans later developed stormtrooper tactics, a small elite force infiltrating enemy trenches to destroy machine gun positions, command posts, etc. Their equipment was unique, including submachine guns, body armor, shovels, and daggers, making them well suited for trench warfare. However, the actual effectiveness of stormtroopers was mediocre. After all, elite forces are still people. They could not fundamentally solve the problem. In comparison to the Germans, the British had more practical solution for dealing with trench warfare. Tanks. Tanks could block machine guns and barbed wire, rolling over trenches, inherently becoming the bane of trench warfare. However, during World War I, Germany maintained an offensive stance, and the defeat was due to internal factors. Therefore, the British tanks had limited usage, and at that time, tanks had many issues themselves. Slow speed, frequent breakdowns, which didn't attract much attention. The first batch of British tanks, 48 in total, had 30 breakdown before reaching the battlefield. Only 18 tanks made it to the actual combat zone. At that time, everyone's focus was on how to break through trench warfare, and until the end of the war, there wasn't even one battle on the Western Front that truly breached the enemy's position. Hence, there was considerable confusion regarding the role of tanks, especially in what they could do after breaking through the enemy's trenches. Therefore, some argue that World War I was a relatively dull war, 4 years of fighting without much progress. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.